All right, we're going to do a little tech tip video. Of course, I come out to get Craig, and I don't know where he is. Hang on, let's go see if we can find him. I'm going to turn this around so you can see what I think he's working on. So I think, because I can see his beer on the ground, and there's a flashlight, he's working on Catastrophe. So we're going to try and get this thing running again. It was for an event for 2 years ago. They got cancelled, so we kind of just parked it over here. So yes, it is a 85, 86 Firebird.
What do I have to do to get you into this vehicle today?
On a Land Rover, and we got it running. Like if you go back and look at videos, we got it running.
Runs but doesn't stop. It's got no brakes.
we got no brakes.
That's what I was just looking at now.
So we're going to try and get that going.
Work out what fittings we need.
But that's our subject of today: brakes and your options for brake boosters and master cylinders. So let's go.
Right, walk this way. Contact.
All right, I had to get my beer because that's the most important part of doing any.
Of building any car.
Any car.
Any vehicle. Yeah, you need a beer.
So, when it comes to hot rods, mainly like normal passenger cars, you're generally pretty well set. But hot rods, there's quite a few options on where you can run your brake pedal, booster, master cylinder, for example. There's pros and cons with each one. This car has it under the dash, so it's a 90.
Well, hang on. Let's just have a look at traditional.
Okay. Well,
so for a traditional modern vehicle, it's like that.
This.
So it's through the firewall.
Yep.
You can see like that.
Pretty standard fitment, like you would see.
So it's a swinging pedal, so a hanging pedal.
Yep. Like
not an in-floor one.
Yeah. Most modern cars.
Modern cars are like that. So the master cylinder and booster is in the engine bay. And if we go around here,
and I did fit the pedal. So.
Oh yeah, we've got a pedal in there. Okay, so that swings in there and just pushes straight through. The problem with that sometimes is room in your engine bay. This particular one, it fits. There's enough room. It's quite a deep cow, so it's sort of
and quite wide.
Yeah.
For example, you get to say like a 28 Ford or even like a 32.
Yeah.
And where it's tighter into the engine, and you'll fit it, but you won't be able to get your rocker covers off.
That's right.
I've had that. I've had a car where someone had built it, and you had to take the master cylinder off to take the rocker cover off.
Yeah.
For example. So it's a simple setup, reasonably cheap.
So with that one, yeah. For this particular vehicle, it worked.
But it doesn't work.
Doesn't work on all of them. So that's when you go to what they call a 90-degree setup.
So you can see here the pedal's still swinging. But what happens? Yep. So what's happening is the booster and master cylinder are coming across this way in a 90-degree setup.
So it runs a bell crank setup.
Yeah. Now let me grab a torch.
With this particular car, you can see the master cylinder and booster, only because it has the 32 cow vent, which is quite handy to. Why is that not focusing? It's
because it's trying to focus.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, can I borrow that torch? I might be able to light it up a bit. There you go. You can see the booster, master cylinder. You can't really see it, but it's a bell crank setup. So that keeps it behind here on the inside. The good thing with that is it leaves all of your firewall all clear. The bad thing is if you go and try and fit under dash air conditioning,
it's not going to happen.
You've got no room under the dash anymore because your booster and master cylinder are taking it up.
So we've gotten around that previously by fitting a rear mount aircon system.
Yes.
So you can buy a trunk mounted system that then blows the vents forward and that sort of thing. You're probably thinking, but what happens if I haven't got a cow vent? How do I fill it? So in a couple of cars I've built, we've glued a mirror up the top. Yep. You pop the cap off. Yes, it's a pain. You're lying on your back, you're squirting, and the hose, the brake fluid's dripping in your eyes.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. But it's a brake system. So once you've done it, theoretically, you really shouldn't have to check. You're not checking your brakes every 2 weeks. It's probably something you might do every couple of years. On a hot rod where it probably only does 1,000 kilometres every couple of years, depending on who you are.
See, that's the problem straight away.
You drive
when a hot rod only does 1,000 kilometres every 2 years, it's not right.
But that's the thing. So, depends on how much driving you're doing, that sort of thing. You probably don't have to check it. Now, the other way you can go, the other good thing this does, and this will lead on to the next one that we'll show you, is this also leaves your chassis and underfloor nice and clear.
Yes.
So you can
if
still
you
run
want to run
exhaust.
an exhaust through the chassis, like this one, you've actually got, see there, yeah.
Plenty of room.
See, you've got room there.
Just final point of interest. Here we go. This is the 90-degree setup under the dash. So you can see there how it all looks. And then obviously come out, and there it is. There.
So what we'll do, because luckily we've got the Jeep on the hoist, so I can show you. We don't have it fitted because it's not the type of setup we're going to go with, but you can see here, this is an underfloor type setup. So I can't quite get it to work.
So
the
this
pedal
uses,
would go up.
yes, so it uses the 20s and 30s style, vintage car style pedal, which runs through the floor.
And then it would put your booster master cylinder here.
Yeah.
So that gives you the advantage. Yes, you've got your firewalls nice and clear and everything.
Under dash is nice and clear, but you then run out of room to run an exhaust through this part of the chassis here, which you would normally do.
So then you're going to have to come under here. And so depending on the type of car and how low it is, sometimes it can be a bit restrictive and a bit awkward trying to get exhaust past it.
Yep.
You can go on, like in this one, we can probably go on the outside of the chassis rail. But in a, say like a 28 Ford, that's quite hard. There's not much room there at all. 32s, you know, like if you're running your exhaust on the outside, yes, you could run this system. Some people like it. I find personally that pushing the pedal down, I find after a little while, it takes a bit of getting used to. You know, you're using different muscles compared to a swinging pedal.
Well, the thing is that all the modern cars are swinging pedals.
Yeah.
So everybody really uses, you get used to swinging
pedals, yeah.
So that seems to be the most popular, other than the traditional guys who, you know, still want to run.
Yeah, still like, some guys do still like to run that because it is how the early Fords 28 to, God, I don't know, 46 still ran that way. And some of the 50s cars still did run underfloor, but by the 60s, nearly everything was swinging pedals and, you know, booster on the firewall, master cylinder, etc.
Yep.
We've most of the ones we've done are generally the 90-degree or the through firewall, just because you get that more natural feel with swinging pedals.
That sort. Or that sort.
There is other options. I mean, you can, like Will would do, like a little floor-mounted pedal system that I've seen on stuff.
Yep.
Very similar to like a Volkswagen. I've heard of guys even using Volkswagen
ones, which are floor-mounted,
which are floor-mounted
inside the car.
And just run forward, and they can have the remote reservoir and that sort of stuff. So we don't see them used very often here because they do like to see a booster in the braking system on street cars in Australia anyway. In the US it may be different, or other countries.
It seems to be that the US don't really seem to run boosted too much.
No.
And that's fine, because it all comes down to your pedal ratio.
Yes.
And the ratio of the master cylinder to the wheel cylinders, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. If you get your pedal ratios fine, then yes, manual brakes without a booster is fine. But as a guide here in Australia, they like to see a booster. You can run without one, but you just need to get that pedal ratio right so that it can pass a brake test.
Yes.
So there's some pros and cons, you know, like I say. So as a rundown, the 90-degree works well, can be restricted if you're going to run aircon, but it keeps your chassis clear. The firewall mounted one, well, it's proven, it's used in most modern cars. And then your underfloor one, yes, it works and they are efficient, but if you want to run your exhaust and you're running a low car, you can sometimes have to muck around to clear exhaust systems. Of course, you don't really want an exhaust system near your brake booster and master cylinder anyway.
That's right.
Hopefully that gives you some options and some ideas.
It's just one more thing that you have to think about, and you really need to be thinking about a lot of these things at the beginning.
Yes.
It's no good leaving it until the very end,
No.
and then, oh shit, I've got nowhere to put the brakes, because they're sort of pretty important.
Yeah. You're normally working out your brake pedal location when you're working out your steering column.
Yep.
So we did go through that in a previous video. If you scroll back down through our videos, there is a bit of a tip guide on how to work out your column length and everything like that. So you're generally working out your pedals and that sort of thing at the same time as your steering column.
Yeah.
Cool.
And if you've got any complaints about the way I've been videoing, just, you know, send them through to Chip Foose over the back there.
Yeah,
See? Yeah, he keeps an eye on us all the time.
He makes sure we're doing the right thing.
Behind the DeLorean taxi. Okay? Righto.
Okay,
See you guys.
see ya.